Hello, everyone, and welcome to A Spotlight On. A Spotlight On is looking at different issues and topics relevant to young people living with HIV. And today we are joined by Auntie Fungi, also known as Auntie Fungai, and we are very honoured by your presence. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Hello.
Now, I'm going to give you a little introduction and then an opportunity to introduce yourself.
Okay.
Um, Fungi is passionate about improving the lives of people living with HIV and is especially passionate about amplifying the experiences of women with HIV. Amazing speaker, has spoken at different conferences around the world and has also blessed camp sharing experiences of being a parent with HIV. And I especially admire what you do around talking openly about the importance of intergenerational conversations and talking about HIV in the home. So thank you so much for joining us. If you share a little bit about who you are and what you do, that would be great.
I think you said it really, really well. I am Fungi, and it is a privilege to be able to do camp again this year. I'm a mom. I think that's my biggest achievement and my biggest job is being a mom and also researching on ways of improving lives, especially of young people living with HIV in how their mental health, how to navigate mental health, how to speak openly and confidently. That makes me happy. So that in a nutshell makes me really, really happy when a young person can tell their own truth.
And I think that's a beautiful way to put it, and it's really important because I think for, as you know, a lot of the young people that go to camp were born with HIV, so may know another or be living with another adult in the house who's living with HIV. And sometimes some of those conversations aren't as easy to have as we maybe might hope. What have your experiences been of being a parent living with HIV?
I think the thing is, it's always hard at the beginning because you always try to protect your children from knowing, as a parent, from knowing if you're in pain, if there's this, if there's that. But I think right from the beginning, when I started feeling confident in being a woman living with HIV, it was much easier for me to leave my medication on the kitchen counter and be able to have those conversations of, no, mommy's not dying, this is why mommy's taking this medication. So I think it's just about, you can't generalize HIV, but you can make it into a conversation that is an ongoing conversation to give the family, especially your children in that setting, to give them information as and when they need it. It can't be an open and shut case, an open and shut conversation. It has to be an ongoing conversation to encourage dialogue. When you see something on the TV, challenge it. If they're not representing people living with HIV in the true light, challenge it, have a conversation. Don't just brush it under the carpet and think that, you know what, my young person hasn't seen that, or because they have. They've got smartphones, they have. So I think for me, it's always been about being honest and allowing time for conversation.
And time is so important, and especially what you're saying about it being an ongoing thing. It's not like we had that conversation 5 years ago, now we're
It's
good.
done now. No. It can't be like that because we grow as people. We grow, and as we've seen now with COVID, things change on a daily basis. Same with HIV. We started calling it different names when I was young, but now it is something completely different.
Hmm. And can
So
can I ask you, do you have, maybe speaking from your own experience or generally, do you have any tips for maybe a parent who might want to start those conversations but they're a bit unsure of how to do it?
I do. I've got a really, really good tip about speaking to young people. It's about giving them space, but it's about making them take control. So my young people and I, we have love bomb days where the young person is given £5 or £10 and full attention, the parents' full attention for the day. So they can either use the money to take the mom to McDonald's or the other restaurants or wherever they feel comfortable, go for a walk. But you find that why call it a love bomb day? Because within that day, it's not just 1 hour or 2 hours, it's a day. As we know, young people start warming up to somebody maybe within 3 hours or something. So gradually just give them that time for them to ask questions. Or another thing that I really liked was writing love notes. And the love notes have little explanations. What is this? What is that? Do you want to ask more? And I found that also helps in other conversations, but particularly in this topic about HIV and talking about fears and medication and but mainly it's about stigma and who to tell, who not to tell, and things like that. And I just found that if a young person has the information in the house constantly, it helps.
Love bomb days. I love the
Yes,
idea of that.
they are
That's like
just the
quality
best.
time.
It is quality uninterrupted time. When we do it, we kind of like say no phones,
Mm-hmm.
no phones, no reaching out to anybody else. It is one on one. It's like a direct. And on Love Bomb Day, you have to answer all the questions.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you do you have any tips for maybe a young person that maybe wants to have some conversations, with a parent, with whoever's looking after them, uncle, guardian, auntie, that person may be HIV positive as well, maybe not, but they do have questions about, their journey when they were younger. Do you
Yeah.
have any tips on how they could approach an adult?
Yes. First, young people, find the right time. Do not ask a parent about something as big as HIV when they're looking for their car keys and wanting to rush out the door. That is not a good time. Maybe on a weekend day when you sort of relax, and bring it in gradually. I think parents are almost fearful of hearing the letters HIV. So maybe name it for a moment. Name it something that you can talk about. What my peer and we talk about ours as George. We call it George for some reason. So name it something for a short time until both guardian, caregiver, and parent are comfortable with the child to call it HIV. Because I think that there's a big fear in that. So as a young person, I would say to my caregiver, hey, do you have a moment? I would like to talk to you about why I take tablets. And guess what? I've named this thing George. And then you're like, what? Oh, okay. Can I just ask? But don't go in with the big questions first, or with the blame, especially if it's a parent. Don't go in with that because they completely shut down. So try going very gently and write all your questions on a piece of paper and tick them off as you go through them. If you don't get to the bottom of your list, then give them to the grown up, give them to the caregiver or the parent, whoever is looking after you. Say, hey, listen, I know you're busy or things are happening, but here are the rest of my questions that I wanted to ask you. Maybe can we talk about it another time? And that's it. But I think also with parents, especially, I think they want to have the promise that you're not going to go and tell your friends and your friends and your friends. Parents fear things that haven't even happened. It's fear of the unknown. So just tell them that for now, it's a conversation between the two of you.
I think you raised so many important things there. One of the things that I got from it, and correct me if I'm wrong, but is about just the importance of meeting people where they're at. And you spoke about this ongoing, gradual gradual thing. And I really liked the way you said, actually, maybe we can talk about, can I ask you a question about taking my meds, as opposed to specifically saying HIV, because
Yeah.
understanding where a parent might be at. And I
Yeah.
think one of the things with sometimes the difficulties can be is that a parent and guardian or carer and their child just might be in different positions. A
In
young
different spaces. Yeah.
person might have more of an opportunity to talk about HIV, whether it's through camp or other support services. And I think it was, thank you for mentioning it as well, in terms of like that blame aspect, and
Mm,
understanding the position of the parent and the emotions that they might be carrying, and why they may not feel as comfortable to talk about HIV. And it's
yes.
not to say don't talk to your guardians and parents about HIV, but understand what might be going on for them emotionally around those
Absolutely.
conversations.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because it is especially if it's a parent, there is no parent wants to give their child anything that is going to be of an unpleasant whatever outcome. We just don't do that. So it takes sometimes it takes a short time for some, a long time for some to personally heal themselves before they can then offer that love and support to others. So, but the minute they're blamed, it's almost taking layers back from that healing and sending them back almost right up to the beginning, where, trust me, they have blamed themselves enough. And if we just have this release of saying, you know what, let's have a conversation, then I think you'll see that your parent, guardian, caregiver will start to open up a little bit more. But yes, young people need to have the opportunity to ask the whys. Why? But take your time and take it really slowly, and be kind to yourself as well as a young person, because there's some of these questions you ask the whys, you might then end up being in a small little bubble of information that you were not prepared for. So it is about taking care of yourself, trying to understand, and also having that confidence of, when you have that conversation, saying to your caregiver, okay, we've had this conversation, it's left me feeling, explain your feelings, it's left me feeling this way and that way and that way. Is it okay if I go and call my friend? We're not necessarily going to talk about what we talked about, but I just need to be in a different space. Or is it okay for me to call my nurse? Is it okay to call somebody? I think we need to equip young people with friends, with other trusted adults to talk to about certain topics, especially about HIV.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Making the most of the different people in our social circle.
Yes.
Definitely. And, we both know, like we've spoken about it just now and before, because we've known each other for a long time, that it can be difficult to have those conversations in the home. But I wanted to get from you, um, we both feel that they're important, as however challenging they might be. Why do you think it's important to gradually have those conversations and make sure that they're ongoing?
I think that the more we have these conversations about HIV in the house, the more we actually smash stigma. Because if young people are getting the support within the home, that is the first important place of safety. If they feel safe to talk about it, then we are all raising a new generation of activists, of researchers, of people that know the facts, rather than them going on the internet and scaring themselves, or looking at literature that was written 20 years ago and scaring themselves. If we are honest in the household, then we're giving them, we're almost building an arm around them of confidence, but confidence that doesn't come without the proper information. It's confidence with information, that they can stand up and say, yes, this is what HIV means. This is what it's like to live with HIV. No, I'm not dying. No, I don't have this. No, I cannot pass it on. They have this information and they're confident that if somebody bullies them or they've faced stigma or something, they also have a safe space to come back to. When they come home, it's safe. They can talk to that parent, that caregiver, to that adult about what's been said, what's happened, and together they can come up with a plan. But if they don't feel safe at home, where they're going to feel the safest? So that, for me, I think that is why I think it's always important to have those conversations.
I completely agree. What would you say your hopes are for parents, guardians, caregivers for the future?
Oh, I should have prepared for that. I think my main hope is if the parents that have not engaged themselves in peer support, they should. They should go and see other parents in their, almost in similar shoes to them. You can never be in somebody's shoes, but in similar shoes to them. And there they can start learning how those parents that are now at a different point in their journey have made it to that point. That is my first hope for parents. And for parents to let go of that thing in your heart that you're carrying, that you're being carrying, and to celebrate that your child, the person, your young person you're looking after is there. They're healthy, they've got medication. But my hope for young people is to grow in confidence, not being rude, grow in confidence in asking the right questions. In again, looking at the Chiva website for ways to ask, what questions would you ask? And growing in that confidence of saying, do you know what, Mom? I would like you and me to be friends. If we're friends, or when we go to clinic, can I have 5 minutes with the doctor? They're just some things that I want to ask, but growing in confidence in making those decisions for themselves, knowing that they're grown up, is going to understand that this is fine. This is a part of them growing up. It's not a part of them being sent into this world of their fears. And I think as well for parents, it's time to see that they're almost, it's not a scientific thing, but they're almost living their HIV through their children. Because as parents of children that are say 4 teens and above, the medication was harsh. The medication is not harsh for a child. So that's my hope of just seeing that there's a big difference between the HIV, the young person, the journey they're going through, and the journey that the parent went through. And for them to find a way to meet and discuss. That's my biggest hope.
Yeah, I think that that's such a good point, because I think for maybe some young people, if their reference point to HIV is the experience of their guardians or parents, it can sometimes mean that their perception of HIV is something that isn't actually what is the reality of
Absolutely.
today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
remember speaking to a young person before saying that, a long time ago, I think they were like, you had to take like 9 or 10 medications during the day. And they're like, what? I take one, you know? So again, had I not had that conversation, somebody would have just thought, okay, they don't have the information. And if somebody else had said to them from the outside, well, oh, you've got HIV, so you're taking 10 medications, they'll say, what is this about? So it is about sort of just seeing where the parent is and where the young person is.
Perfect. Um, so I have one last question for you, but I wanted to check if there was anything else you wanted to add. Maybe you thought I was going to ask you something and you were ready for that question, but I never asked.
No. I don't think I've got anything else to add other than just saying to the young people, they have to remember that they're very, very, very loved, very
Yeah.
loved, very loved, and there are loads of places. Don't never think you're going through this journey on your own, because you're not. You're not. There, there are loads of people. We're here. We can support you. We can help you. We can, and your parents. Trust me, your parents, your guardian, your caregivers love you so much, and they are there. They are there for you.
Thank you. So my last question is, you probably know this actually, every year at camp there is a theme, and this year the theme is superheroes. So I wanted to ask, who is a superhero to you and why?
My superhero, I actually had this game with my children. I was asking, and we didn't get very far. But my superhero is actually my dad. He passed when I was only 15 years old. But why he was and remains my superhero was coming from an African background. We are told that, especially as girls, you'll go to school, you'll go to college, you'll become a teacher, a nurse, or whatever, and then you get married, and that's it, really. But with my dad, because we had this open conversation relationship, I grew up in a family where I talked to my dad about anything. And I said to him after my GCSEs, I'm really good at hockey, Dad. I want to play. And instead of sort of being, oh, no, you have to go to college, he went and bought me a hockey stick. And he gave me a year off to find myself, to find who I was. And unfortunately, that's the year that he passed. But even then, every time I look at my own children, I always think they have to find their own path. So I always look at my dad as my superhero, that had he been here today and I'd gone to him and talk about HIV, I think he would have got it. He would have sat down and said, okay, what is this? Let's he would have understood, and he would have given me that chance to have a deep and meaningful conversation.
That is fantastic. That's such a beautiful memory. Thank you for
Yes,
sharing that with us.
thank you.
Thank you. And I love it's kind of like throughout the conversation it's been about the importance of having conversations, even
It is.
yeah, like
I,
throughout.
yeah,
So
I think it is. It's really, really important. Even as we get older, we're still having conversations.
mm.
So conversations are very, very important.
Auntie Fungi, thank you so much for your time and just for sharing with us and being open with us because it's still quite unique to get the perspective of a parent. So we appreciate you sharing
Oh,
insights, in such an open way. It I hope you do know, but if you don't already know, it does so much for so many young people. So I
I
appreciate
am
what you do.
pleased to do that. Trust me, Chiva Camp is one of top of my list of things to do this year. So I'm so pleased that it's going ahead virtually.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.